it seems clear that we're in a war between two sides. On one side, you have the people who are really meaning to tell the truth, to love, who celebrate freedom, who celebrate all the life-affirming aspects of life, such as having children, living in freedom, being healthy, speaking the truth, the basic values of what life is and what life does, and following your inspiration. And on the other side, you have kind of the forces of the world that have always been there. You have the people that try to control humanity. You have people who are dishonest. You have people who want to steal from you or enslave you. You have people who do not want you to be happy. They want to cause misery and suffering because they're suffering. And on both these sides, you have people that are, the elite, kind of leading those forces. And then you have the regular people like you and I. And what's interesting about this is, let's call the side of good, and I will define it further. People call that as like a battle of God versus the devil, or good versus evil. And it's true, because my understanding, some people just refer to God like, the man in the sky sort of thing. And if that works for you, if that's how you talk about God, pray to him and that kind of thing, and that works for you, that's fine, because you're still aligning with the good. You're God-fearing, you're doing the right thing. A lot of us have a different understanding of what God means, that it really does mean this whole force of good. It means life itself. It means love. Love is the same thing. God is love. Love is God. It's interchangeable. It's the same thing. And as part of that, there's also truth, freedom, life, doing what life does, reproducing, raising children, giving, creating, serving, right? These are all godly forces. And for our entire lives, for centuries, maybe for millennia, there's been the force of darkness, right? The government that wants to tax you and control you and make all these laws to limit what you can do, to educate you in the way that they want you to think, so that you lose touch with your goodness that you're born with, your perfect health. They want to inject you with things that make you sick. They want to make you sick so they can exploit you by selling you medication and making you well. And this has been going on so clearly. But what changed now, is what has been changing gradually, but actually rather rapidly, is that in the past, the forces of good, there were many of us, but we were still such a small minority. We were kind of on the fringes of society and never really had a chance to take over the world, right? And so we just kind of put up with, the world, we called it, which is really the satanic cabal that's really, actually intentionally doing the things that I just described, to sort of enslave us, to make us miserable, to exploit us, to cause death and suffering. That's what that's their religion, right? I don't really understand it, but enough to know that it's there. And I see it in my own life. I see very clearly which side a person is on. And that's the thing. We all have to decide which side we're on right now, because the world has been separated into these two branches, right? You have the good versus evil. You have ego versus love. All different words that really mean the same thing. There's this duality and this war, because there's no middle ground anymore. I think the middle ground used to be that the good people who are aligned with God were afraid. We were afraid of what the authority might do to us, or we were afraid of what our abusive parents might do, or we were afraid of, losing a job, so we would put up with abuse at work and things like this, and we were afraid. And as long as we were afraid, the whole thing was held together. We went along with a lot of lies that we knew were lies. And what changed with the MAGA movement, actually, with Trump, is that they came in and said, like, we're going to actually conquer the bad. We're going to let the good finally overtake the bad. The good overcome evil. And a lot of us who had been tuned out because we just accepted reality as it was, how the world has always been, started to tune in. We started to listen, like, hey, is it possible we can actually expose evil through light, darkness through light? We can expose the lies. We can actually cast out the corruption from the system. We can actually make end the abuse from all the institutions, from education on up through healthcare. I talk about this, but every institution has been corrupted by that force of evil of the world, to enslave us, to rob us. And now we're coming to the end of this battle. Trump winning the election was a great symbolic. It was a victory of a battle, certainly. But the war isn't quite over because we still have these two sides going to war. And I know anybody who doesn't understand what I'm talking about when I say the force of good, it might sound naive to someone who's cynical. But what's interesting is that the side of darkness, the ego, right? The ego, which is identity. My identity is my body and my mind and my thoughts and my story and my money and my home and all these things about my life. That's who I am. A person aligned with ego will value all that over the truth, right? Value all that over feeling good or being healthy or wanting others to be prosperous and have children and be happy and so forth. You'd rather others suffer so that you're better, because then your identity is more. And of course, you never quite find any satisfaction within the ego, and that's this ongoing misery. And the ego always tells you, go further in this thought system, and you will be happy, but you never quite get there. So what's interesting is that to someone who still is sort of captured by this egoic mind, the ego way of thinking, this very fearful way of thinking, very competitive way of thinking, very much skeptical and cynical, they're unable to see the good that we know to be true about us and about our movement. And we know it's good. We know it's aligned with God because we're talking about the principles of life, of reality, right? Breathing, speaking the truth, being authentic, creating in freedom, not being robbed through massive income tax, things like this, being allowed to walk outside and walk into the grocery store without a face mask on, being allowed to get on a plane without an injection in your body. So we see it. But what's interesting is that the evil forces, and we all know who they are. They could be family members cutting us off. They're gaslighting us, right? They're just gaslighting us because they can't accept that their game is almost over. The game is almost over. They have to change. They're going down with a sinking ship because the forces of good have already won. Or like we're very close with the 1 yard line in football, right? Just got to punch it in one more play or two, And they think they're going to still defend this, and it's indefensible because it's wrong, and we see it. The majority of people, not just in the U.S., but around the world, in the Western world, we see this for what it is. We're not going back. We're not going to believe in the institutions anymore, right? That's what's called the Great Awakening. Enough people, let's say the majority of people, actually have enough questions and enough clarity that we're not going back. So you've got to change. You've got to come along. But what's happening instead is that these people are continuing to play the same games that aren't working. They're telling us things about us that aren't true. They're projecting their own problems onto others. And it doesn't work. As A Course in Miracles explains, people project because they want to cast out that badness they have. So if you are calling someone else racist, that means that you are deep down, you know that you're racist. You're not aware of that, but it's true. If you're attacking, it's because you feel that way, and you want to throw that feeling, that negative, horrible, low energy, scared feeling away. So you want to throw it on someone else. But what happens is that it doesn't go out of you. When you project, you extend that reality within you and make it even more real in your life. It doesn't you can't throw it out of you. The only way to end that negative feeling, that fear, that stress, that desire to matter, to get better, to heal, to feel good, all those things, the only way to get there is to go through this transformation of humbling yourself. So you let go of your ego, you let go of your story, you let reality shape your life, and you embrace the reality of your life and what's happening in the world. And you try to understand others. You stop trying to project your toxic crap onto people who aren't guilty of that. Even the very notion of guilt. There is no guilt. There's mistakes. There's error, which can be corrected. But the people on the side of evil, the ego side, don't want any correction. They want that, for some reason, that darkness to win. It's not going to happen anymore. So we're all in a situation where we have to decide which side we're on. And it should be a very easy decision. Everyone believes that they're good because they are. The truth about you, no matter what side you're aligned with, no matter how many lies you're telling, whether you know it or not, no matter how much shame you're casting and blame and making guilty and accusing others, you still believe that you're a good person. And that's true. You are a good person. Because the truth about all of us is that we are this consciousness, this soul. We're not the ego. We're not our thoughts. Right? We are the observer of reality. The observer, that life force within us that is observing our thoughts, observing everything around, right? That's the truth. And on that level, not the doing level, the being level, consciousness, that's the God essence. That's the soul. And if you're alive, you do have that still in you. So the trick is to disassociate from your identity, meaning your thoughts, your story, your material reality, your image, whatever it may be, your political side, whatever it may be, and to align with the truth about you, which is that goodness inside, that innocence that you were born with as a child, that was taken away from you by those dark forces trying to manipulate the way you think. So that's what's called spiritual awakening. When you forgive yourself, you forgive others, and you see the innocence in yourself, you understand that love comes from within. You don't manipulate others into giving you the love you need. It comes from within. And then you extend it. And extending is the spiritual equivalent of the ego's version of projecting. The ego projects negativity, but love extends love. And so it comes from within and it extends outwards through creation, through the energy vibration you bring into the space you're in. When we tell the truth, when we do not fear, when we align with all that is good, all that is the force of life, not the force of death, we can't be defeated. Right? Death can never defeat life. Life is always going to reign supreme. And the only thing that was ever stopping us all this time was that we were still fearful a little bit. And now I'm not scared of anything. And I know a lot of people in my movement are, call me what you want to, project, gaslight me, tell me things about me that aren't true. I don't care. I used to argue and defend myself. I know the truth. I'm not saying that I'm beyond error or that I've never made mistakes, I've never hurt somebody or never will again. I do know that I'm intellectually honest, that if you point out an error, I will listen to you and I will correct it if it's true. I don't lie. Honesty is right there with love. It's the same thing, and freedom. Okay? So, long way of saying the war's not over, and it's ugly. It's ugly on social media. It's ugly in our families. my ex and my daughter are cutting me off, and I didn't even do anything. They're projecting things about me that I don't know. I don't know if it's the media talking about Trump, or I don't know what it is really, but I kind of do know. It's the institutions kind of affecting the way they think versus my awakening and how I think, and there's just this gap. And it's fine, it's always been that way. It's just this time they're going to have to change, because there's no future for that. You cannot hold on to, if the Titanic is sinking, it doesn't matter how nice the staircase is, it's sinking, right? So holding on to it is not going to get you to the future, to get you in a life that's worth living. It's going to fall apart because the world is changing so dramatically, and we didn't even get started yet, right? So let the story of your life go. Let the ego identity go. Go back to the truth about you, which is that you are good. You are love. You are perfectly safe in the eternity of reality, which is the message of Jesus on the cross. You rise beyond whatever the world can do to you, and there is no reason to fear, no matter what is happening. When you're walking with the side of God, you have nothing to fear.